I actually thought I'd come up with this genius pedalboard idea video that I could use for my future YouTube reviews and demos, and it would let me demonstrate pedals and guitars through 3 or 4 different setups of different price points and different styles, amps, modelers, direct. But as you're about to see, unfortunately, it didn't quite go to plan. For the main part of this video, we're going to go back to Germany for 42 Gear Street, and then later in this video, I'll meet you back here and I'll tell you why it went so wrong and play you some sounds with the version that I've managed to salvage. It's not quite as bad as I'm making it sound, but I also want to say a massive thank you to Rich Morgan at Rich Words Music, who kindly helped me with this video, helped me put the pedalboard together and come up with some good ideas. And he also works at Palmer, who sponsored the video, so a massive thank you to them, and just massive thank you to Rich in general for putting up with everything that he puts up with from me. So yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to build a new pedalboard for all of my YouTube content, and the current one that I've got is probably a bit too big for what I need. It was more of an aesthetically very pleasing pedalboard, but actually wasn't really being used to its full potential. So what I've done is downsized. This is Rich from the YouTube channel Rich Words Music, who also is probably one of the only people that I know who is also a brand guy as well. So today he's here in a different capacity. So he's working for Adam Hall, which own Palmer, who have very kindly sponsored this video by letting us use this Palmer pedalboard. Rich, do you want to tell us a bit about this pedalboard?
Yes, I do. But first, downsizing, and you've chosen the 60L.
Yeah.
What were you on before?
The one I've got at the moment was the Pedal Train, I think Lenovo 32, which is huge. And most importantly, the power supply that I was using wasn't really up to the standard, but we've got a really cool power supply from Palmer as well, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, this is actually smaller than the one that I've got at the moment.
Okay, cool. Well, this is the 60L. And this is the second largest of the Pedalbay boards that we produce. So the largest is the 80, and this is centimeter measurements basically. So it's 80 across, and you've got your kind of standard 4 bars. It's the aluminium bar sort of a setting. The 60L is the second largest, and that has an extra bar in the vertical direction. So that's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars as opposed to 4. Extra row of pedals, maybe an extra row of mini pedals if you need it. Then there's a standard 60, then there's a 40, and then there is the 50S, which is kind of like your sort of nano one, like a single, or well, 2 boards for a single row of pedals, yeah, 50 centimeters across.
I didn't realise you did those. I saw one in the tent earlier on, and it was a pretty cool little board.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And with the 40 and the 60, what we also do is something called a power bar, which is like a power supply for a pedalboard, which is built into a bar-sized sort of enclosure, and we sell them either separately or with the boards. And what you would then do is, if you've got a 40 or a 60 pedal board, you take off one of the bars, you can choose which bar you do it with, although often it makes sense to use this one here because it's kind of at the front, and then you just replace it with the power bar and you go like that, and you don't need an external power supply in that way. So that's a cool thing if you really want to keep it kind of as small and easy as possible. Yeah.
But today we've gone for this power supply, which is the PWT12.
Yeah, this is the PW12 IEC. I think that's a good way to show it. This is, I would say, our most robust, our most chunky power supply. 12 refers to the fact that we have 12 outputs on it. So you can power 12 pedals or more if you're going to daisy chain stuff. It's IEC, which means that you've basically got a nice chunky kettle lead to plug it in. And I know a lot of people like that. It feels somehow a lot more secure when you're plugging in a power supply.
Whereas the power bar that comes with these pedals, that is not an IEC connection, is it?
No, exactly. That's your standard smaller power supply one. And we do make some other power supplies like the PWT 12 Mark II, which is kind of a more standard strip bar one that also has the smaller power supply insert. This one is also cool because it has a couple of USB outs on it, so you can charge a device, or you could plug in a MIDI keyboard or something and power it from that if you wanted to. It's got 2 amps of power in total, so plenty of juice if you're running pedals like Strymons or whatever. And you could even power like a Quad Cortex off one of these, although I wouldn't then run 10 or 12 pedals.
Yeah.
So that's a great power supply. With the Palmer pedal bays, apart from the 50, the sort of nano one, they're all slanted, and you can mount the power supplies underneath, or you could mount it on top if you wanted to. Obviously, the power supply comes with all the cables that you need to power everything up. The other thing you're going to need is going to be patch cables.
Yeah, speaking of patch cables, we've got these really nice Adam Hall patch cables, but we've got a selection because one of the things that we're using as part of this pedal board is a switcher, and the outputs of that switcher, they're quite close together. So we need a kind of variety of different cables to make that work. So what are these cables that we've got here?
So for those of you who don't know, and I'm guessing that's most of you watching this, Adam Hall does indeed make cables.
I didn't know.
In a B2C sort of a way. Like we do a lot of B2B stuff, but we've started making cables for guitarists, musicians, studio people, and so on. And we've got a large selection of patch cables now, actually, and they're really, really decent. They start at 10 centimeters, which for Americans is going to be about, I don't know, 4 inches?
Yeah, it's 2.5 centimeters to an inch.
Yeah, okay, so 4 inches. Then we'll do a 15, a 30, a 60, and then a meter long. So everything for any kind of size or configuration of pedalboard. And then we do full-on guitar cables, and then we do your XLRs, all your studio stuff, and so on and so on. So if you're after cables, Adam Hall is, in my opinion, my professional and my business opinion, going to be a fairly decent choice.
So I know a lot of people go for the cut to measure kind of cables.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is you don't have the flexibility there. And if you're like us, we're constantly changing. And I think most typical guitarists are, aren't they? Things are coming in and out of the pedal board. So you're constantly kind of wasting cables and recutting cables, resizing. So something like this is, I think, more useful in this situation.
Yeah, exactly. Cut to measure is awesome. I really, really like it. And it's fun to kind of make your own cable.
It feeds that whole OCD side of things, doesn't it?
Exactly. And if you really have a set board that you're not going to change, you can really get stuff, custom measured, and it's going to be as tidy and easy to manage as possible. But there are kind of some downsides, and I've personally had some experiences with make your own patch cables that like you might lose a connection here and there and stuff. I mean, that might happen with a standard patch cable anyway, but
I think you're definitely not the first person that I've heard say that as well. So
yeah, that's probably user error, but I personally always feel safer with your standard patch cables. And the two different ones that we have here are going to be the Adam Hall vintage ones, which are these kind of more braided looking ones, and they do have a chunkier jack here, although they are pretty flat. And then we've got the standard, more modern ones, which are going to be much more low profile. Yeah, exactly.
We're also going to quickly go through a few pedals and decide what is going to suit my needs best for the pedal boards. There's a few options for a couple of like the drives and that kind of thing. So also Rich is a super pedal nerd as well, so he's going to be able to educate me on some of these pedals that maybe I don't know too much about.
Well, maybe, yeah. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. So the plan with this pedal board is that I can leave it permanently set up, and ultimately I want to go out to 3 different options. The first one being a real guitar amp, second one being the HX Stomp, and the third one being a Tone X1. And this will be like a pedal platform style amp. So it'll be like one of the pedal platform style amps that I've downloaded. I'll put a link in the description, and it should act like a real amp. So when you've got different kind of drive pedals going into it. And the reason behind that is that gives us different budget options. So the real amp will be like, if I get a higher end guitar, I can then show that through a higher end amp. If I'm playing something more budget, these are about £150, euros, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's more suitable for that kind of thing. And again, suiting the budget of maybe like a mid-price kind of like maybe £1,000 sort of that kind of price point. Because the amp that I do use in my studio is a diesel VH4, which is my favourite amp of all the time, but it is a very expensive amp. So it doesn't really make sense for me to show like a low to mid-price guitar through that amp, because it's unrealistic and people want to see something that they can relate to. And I don't think with a diesel you can really do that. So that makes sense to me.
So it's like when let's say when you're demoing a guitar or something, what you really want is the option to have for people who are kind of going to be wanting to hear a real amp, you'll go through to the diesel or whatever. But for people who are going to be on a more budget option, you can then go straight through to the Tone X or to the HX Stomp if you want to do it. So it's those 3 budget levels on one pedal board, and you want to wire it up so you can seamlessly switch between the 3 options. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And to do that, what we're using is this switcher looper pedal from a UK builder called Bright Onion Pedals. I don't know if it's supposed to be, because he's based in Brighton, so I think it's a play on Brightonian pedals.
I've never seen one of these in person before, so I'm going to hold it in my hands. But I've always looked on the Bright Onion site because I'm always interested in
he does really good work, because he does painted versions, and they're completely customizable as well. And he builds AB boxes, all kinds of loopers. I think this is the biggest one that he does, but he also makes more of an automatic kind of looper, like more of like the G3 kind of gig rig type
MIDI
thing
switches and stuff like that as well. But yeah, like living in Germany, you really don't see these out in the wild. So this feels proper solid, and these look great. I shall be investigating these further at some point.
So, and you can customize the lights
Yeah.
and what does what. So what I did with this is there's 8 loops, but one of them is dedicated to a tuner output. So all of these pedals are completely taken out of the signal once you press the button to turn it on or off. So the first loop is a tuner, and so that leaves me with 7 others, which I've already decided I want an overdrive, like a Tube Screamer or SD1 type thing, a gain section, so for distortions, a chorus section, followed by a delay and then a reverb. That leaves me with 2 other outputs except the main output. So the main output will go to the amp, one of the outputs will go to the Tonex, and one of it will go to the Helix. But there's also an insert between the gain stages and the modulation effects, and what that allows me to do is bring in a pedal for review and that kind of thing, so I don't have to rewire the whole pedal board. I can just insert it into the insert and everything stays clean and tidy and quick and easy, which is one of the big sort of benefits to this kind of system, is a time-saving kind of thing. So yeah, what do you think about that?
I just think the really cool thing about loop switches is if you've got a long chain of pedals, it enables you to keep your signal very clean, because when the switches are off, when everything's deactivated, it's not in your signal chain at all. So if you're running through a high-end tube amp or whatever and you want to show off one pedal with the pristine circuit, you can do that. Whereas if you're running it in a chain, a daisy chain of 6 to 8 pedals or whatever, it's, you know, it might colour that all-important pure tube tone.
Exactly, and I think that's something that's really important for us as gear demonstrators on YouTube, is to give you the most accurate sort of representation of what you can expect. And if we've got a big chain of pedals, then the sound will change in some kind of way, and then that sort of doesn't do you any favours. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, exactly. And also I think what you've done here is actually really smart with these 3 options via one switcher, because I know when I'm demoing between sort of different setups, I'll need to get an entirely different setup. But with you, this is going to be kind of a one board does everything solution.
Exactly.
You can take it with you. For example, bring it here next year. You'll have your Tonex and your HX Stomp setup, and you can then plug into any tube amp here, and you'll have that pristine, you know, sort of free circuit to use wherever you want, however you want. I really like that idea.
Just as a side note, for the modulation and delays and that kind of thing, I'm going to have stuff going on in the amps effects loop, which is all MIDI controllable, so specifically the TC Electronic 2290. So all my delays and reverbs, and that will be controlled by this pedal, which has the MIDI outs. So this will be on the board. And the cool thing about that is that will also be able to control the Tonex, so I can switch different amps for as a bass kind of pedal platform amp. So if I want to go through like a Hot Rod Deluxe kind of bass tone, or maybe like a clean Marshall kind of thing, I can do that. I can control that by this as well. But that is actually not available just yet, because X-Sonic are supposed to be releasing that firmware update pretty soon. So we're all waiting for that. So X-Sonic, please, let's do this. So for my overdrive section, I want a traditional kind of Tube Screamery sound that I can push the higher gain stuff. But I'm not a massive fan of the Tube Screamer, and I actually prefer this. Depending on what I've got space-wise, that'll determine. I hope I can get this on the board, but I might have to get this on the board, but we'll see what happens when we wire it all together. I also want to have either a ODR1 or a Klon type pedal gain stage.
I'm guessing that you're also going to be thinking about stacking the 2 drives, right? A Tube Screamer type pedal into a Klon type pedal is a godly sound, but so is a Tube Screamer and an ODR1. I absolutely love the ODR1 pedal. I see that you have the Tone City Nobleman here, which is a version of it.
Do you have this pedal?
I actually don't have this exact pedal, but I have, I think, all of the Nobles ones. What I also have, and what I would recommend you get, is the Noble's ODR1X, which is the brand new larger one, or the ODR Mini 2, because what they have is a bass roll-off control. And we're getting into different nerdy territory here. But there's one thing that I always found a tiny bit problematic about the original ODR1, and I think this is what the Nobleman is, you know, taking its inspiration from, is that that pedal had a lot of bass, a lot of low end in it. When you're playing single coils, when you're using a telly, it sounds incredibly good, super sparkly and super pristine and loads of clarity and that. And that's why all the telly wielding guys in Nashville loved it. That's why it was their secret weapon. But when I'm playing a Les Paul, the low end can get a bit flubby. And that was always my issue.
Well, I think you've answered it then, because they tend to do humbuckers over single coils.
And in that sense, I'm feeling like, personally, if I were you, I would edge more towards, it's going to be the bad horse, isn't it? The Klon type pedal. Again, a Tone City one. Excellent, excellent pedal.
That makes sense. Okay, so we'll put these over on this side.
Did you recently acquire these Tone City ones?
No, I've
by
had
the way,
these for
or-
a few years. So
Oh,
I don't
okay,
know if
yeah,
they've done an updated version of these, because I know they brought out some new pedals recently.
They did, and I'm actually thinking that the Bad Horse got a slight tonal tweak to it. I don't think the Nobleman did, but
Because that's a newer pedal, isn't it, within their range? But I think this one's been out for quite a long time.
exactly, yeah. And there may be a 2025 version of this, but this one it's maybe due on at some point. So who knows? Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. We've got that sorted out. So next we've got the like overdrive kind of sounds. So for those options, I've got the Bad 94 Mini, which is Perfecto de Castro's signature overdrive distortion pedal. Have you tried these?
No,
You haven't tried one?
I've tried one.
No way.
No, I've seen them around so many times, but never played
You know,
one.
it's based on a Marshall Shredmaster.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does Bad 94 stand for? Is 94 the year that... No, the Shredmaster would have been before that, wouldn't it?
I actually don't know.
BAD, Bad Distortion. Maybe it means like badass or whatever that kind of thing.
Show my ignorance there. I should know. I might
We'll have to ask
Perfecto,
him. There must be a meaning behind it somehow, yeah.
I really love that pedal.
Yeah.
And the other alternative is this Brilliant Amps TODP, which is the Tube Overdrive Distortion Plus. Not Distortion Pedal, Distortion Plus. I'm pretty sure that's what it stands for. This is actually an all-valve, or it's actually got options. So it's got diodes, it's got valves, it's a complicated pedal, but there's a load of sounds in it. It's one of those ones that you're able to tweak to whatever kind of sound and whatever amp you're using.
There's tubes in there?
There's tubes in it, and actually I want to show you this, because this is the alternative, which is the new version of it. But you'll love this. I know that you'll love. This is why I brought this along to show you, actually. So this is the newer version of it, and what you can do with this is the back is on magnets, so it pops off, and then you get all of these different circuits. So these are the valves that are inside.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's like some kind of like mini tube.
valve.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
Reminds me a little bit of the Blue Guitar Amp 1 with the nano tube.
so you got these, and then you've got these. So there's various different like combinations you can use.
And you don't need to desolder or
Don't need to
anything
desolder
to
anything.
change them out.
You just and then
Oh wow, that looks. Why have I never heard of? I've confessed to have never even heard of the brand. Dr. Elliot, is that what they're called?
brilliant.
Or is it?
Brilliant?
It looks like Dr. Elliot.
Yeah,
Dr. Elliot, we'll see you now. Brilliant. Okay,
He
is that
makes-
a UK-based builder?
he's a UK-based builder. He makes really good stuff. He's recently been featured on that pedal show a few times, and they love. Well, you can imagine they love this
Of
kind of
course they
stuff.
would. Yeah, yeah.
But it's so it's modular, different sounds, different overdrives. You can really go extra nerdy. You can deep dive into this kind of thing. And I thought that you'd be into this.
It looks amazing.
Definitely.
I've never tried any of these either, and I would love to. If we build this board up properly this weekend, then I can
hopefully you
try
can
them
get
out.
that into one of the rooms. You can try it through one of the
That'd
amps
be
or
amazing.
something.
Reminds me a bit of like it's like the Synergy amp modules, but in pedal form. Or
That's
like,
exactly it. Yeah,
there's a couple of other pedal brands, like I think Jackson Audio, for example, where you can get different sort of parts and stuff to swap out in pedals, but that's never something I've seen or tried in person. So really excited to try these.
And when you order one of these, you deal directly with John Brilliant. If there's anything that he doesn't know, it's honestly not worth knowing. He's also a guitar tech. He works with like Stereophonics, Noel Gallagher, and everybody.
Cool. What sort of pricing are we looking at on these sort of pedals?
I think these are actually not too bad. These are about £230.
It's really not that bad, is it? Yeah.
And then you
€300,
can buy these extra. So this was the original version, and how cool does that look? They're all hand painted as well in the UK. But I think for this pedal board, because I don't want to be changing things out too much, I'm going to go for this one, which is the stock original version. And then I will be making a video on this one pretty soon.
Very cool. Looking forward to trying that.
So hopefully we've actually got enough space for both, because what that then gives us is something within a higher budget range, like of £230, and these are about $100, I think, maybe 120. Yeah, this is the mini version. He does a bigger version as well, but I think this is definitely much more affordable than this. So hopefully that we'll have enough space to use both of those.
And the question is, are 4 gain stages enough for you on your pedal board?
We'll find out.
It should be more than enough in theory, shouldn't it? But like, you know how it is with drive pedals.
Have you ever tried one of these?
No, this is one of the few Digitech
I can't believe you haven't tried
pedals
one
that
of
I
these.
haven't tried. I remember a couple of years ago as well. I think it was probably before Digitech was sort of, they went into the wilderness for a bit, and then they were sort of bought out, I think, by Samsung Harman, by that huge company. And at some point, this was being chucked out at Thomann for about €60 or something. And
Same in the UK, I think like PMT was getting rid of them really cheap.
and the rubberneck analog delay, and I should have bought both of them, and I didn't. And those are the big regrets for me. But anyway, yeah, it's a feedbacker pedal, isn't it? Basically,
it's a lot of fun. I have quite a few guitars with Sustainiacs, and I was hoping it was going to do a similar kind of thing. And I think sonically it does, but with the Sustainiac, it's a feel kind of thing as well. So obviously, it's impossible to get that kind of thing. It saves carving up your 59 Les Paul and putting a Sustainiac in it. But yeah, it's a very cool pedal. If we've got space for it, I'll put it on, but I don't really have a loop for it.
Can I just ask, by the way, with the Freakout, like I've recently been getting to the Line 6 HX1, which we actually did a video on last year at Gear Street. I was going to say, like, and I found that there is like a sort of, whatever you would call it, sort of a Sustainiac sort of a algorithm in there. How does that compare?
It's been out for a while, hasn't it? That from the firmware update, and I actually haven't tried it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I had this and because I had the Sustainiacs.
And
more importantly, it uses a lot of DSP.
Does it?
So in the same with like a lot of the higher quality pitch parameters, pitch blocks in
the delays and the verbs and stuff. Yeah.
So I just tend to stay away from that, and I've got like a Digitech drop, so that saves me using DSP on the HX stump. So that's why I haven't really sort of experimented too much with it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it would be different with the HX1, of course, because you've only got one thing you can use. So
it'd be interesting to kind of shoot them out.
Yeah, you should try that out at some point. But yeah, anyway, okay. So you're hoping to get this on the board, but it might not fit.
Maybe we'll put it over there for now.
What you can also, of course, always do with a looper switcher like this is you don't have to have just one pedal in a loop. Like if you,
that's it.
If, for example, you're someone who occasionally would run, for example, a fuzz pedal and an octave down or something together, and you'd always use them together, you can have the two of them in one loop and kill two birds with one stone that way, for example.
In the same way as, for example, these two pedals are going to go in the same loop. Because I'm never going to use them both at the same time. It's going to be either or.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So next up, we've got the chorus pedal, which is this pedal, which I've just got hold of. I'm a big fan of this pedal.
C5.
So before that, I had the Joyo Narcissus. Have you tried that?
No, I haven't.
So it's a pretty good pedal, but this is probably my favourite chorus pedal. And also the 2290 does the chorus stuff in the loop of the diesel as well. So chorus, this is going to be the chorus that I'm using. So next up is the insert, so we don't have to do anything for that. And then we've got the delay section. So this is the Keeley Caverns, which you've had experience with.
Yes.
And this is the special edition one that you got with the Badlands guitars. I think the Hellcat. If you bought one of the Badlands Hellcats, you got with this pedal, but I was over and I saw Lewis the Tone King recently and I managed to steal one of these. So I might put this one on, but probably not, because it's a reverb and delay in one, and I need to really be able to separate the reverb and delay. So it's probably not going to be this pedal. For reverb, for delay, I'm thinking the Carbon Copy, which is an analog style delay, and I've got the 2290 in the loop, which is a digital style delay. So I've got the two options.
That actually is an analog delay, not style.
Have you had much experience with this? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, but it's again a pedal that I used often years and years ago, and at some point I thought that it was a little bit too dark for me.
Yeah.
Because I was going through a phase of not really having a delay to just fatten up tones or whatever, but having a delay to do kind of stylistic things.
Right.
Big ambient sounds and washes of sounds and stuff. And that's great when combined with a reverb, but I wanted something brighter, something even more intense that you'd really hear. And so I went for other options, but nowadays I'm coming back more towards proper analog delays. And with this mod switch, it's a real sweet sound. Like, so I might pick up another one of those at some point.
They've brought out a newer pedal, haven't they? A newer version, which has more high end.
Yes, the Carbon Copy Bright. Right. And there is a deluxe version, which is like a double pedal, which I think has everything in it. It has the Bright switch, it has the mods, it has, there's even a little LCD display on it for, I think, subdivisions and stuff like that. I don't know if there's like a favorite switch or a second preset or something, but that has more options, but it's twice the size. So
see, the dark sound was actually the reason I bought this.
Really?
Because it's one of those pedals that you can kind of leave as an always on thing if you got it low enough in the mix.
Yeah.
The repeats don't muddy up the sound when you're playing sort of leads and that kind of thing, but you know it's there when you leave those breaks.
Yeah.
And it does sort of fatten up the sound a bit. It's kind of like, you know, something's there, but it's not overpowering.
Yeah, exactly. It's never too much, and it's absolutely perfect for that. Yeah. But you know me, I'm not like the world's biggest lead solo break sort of a guy, so I'm using my delays for slightly different things from you. But yeah, that's a great choice.
So reverbs, I've been using this recently. I was doing a lot of stuff post before, so putting on a plugin or that kind of thing for reverbs, but I wanted an actual pedal. So I bought this, didn't love it, so I recently got hold of this. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm guessing you've got some experience with this pedal.
Yeah, absolutely. The Hall of Fame is the kind of affordable classic that you'll see on so many pro players' pedal boards. I actually have this size version, but the original, the Hall of Fame
Yeah.
1. It wasn't called 1 back in the day, but yeah, you have many of the same algorithms. You don't have as many tone print slots for it, but I don't really need that anyway.
Do you have any recommended settings?
Again, it depends what you're doing, but for me, the Hall is lovely on the TC reverbs. The church is fantastic, a bit of, like modulated ambience there. The plate's great. The room's just really good just to leave it on. Like the shimmers from TC, like I like them, but I have to admit that there are other shimmers out there that I do prefer.
Who's your go-to shimmer?
Keeley can do a great shimmer, for example. Yeah, but there are many options for that as well. But yeah, this is a great pedal, and I still use the one to this day, and that must be a decade old at least.
Very cool.
I've also got the the full size version, the X4, where you've got your 4 switches and 2 banks, so you can have up to 6 different ones.
And you can do. Doesn't this have kill dry as well? So if you've got like parallel effects loop, you can just have it 100% wet, so you just blend it in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think you have to go into the settings with the app and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. You have to do some of that. And this second generation also has the mash foot switch, so lots of the different like tone prints, and you can program it as well. Like this is not just an on-off switch, but the harder you press it down, it acts sort of like as an expression pedal. Oh, okay. So if you've got like a standard reverb and you want to add shimmer to it, the more you press it down, you can bring in the shimmer with more intensity the harder you press this down, for example. Cool. So that's definitely something to check out.
So I didn't mention earlier, but the tuner that I've gone for is this Korg Pitch Black Mini, just because it saves some space. My favourite tuner is the TU2 or the TU3 from Boss, but I think in this situation, this will be completely fine.
This is something I've been experimenting with recently, but I've recently been playing with the TC Plethora a lot. Their little kind of... I
don't have one,
I've got the X3, which is similar in size, I would say, to the HX Stomp. Does the HX Stomp have a tuner on it? I'm assuming it does. Like, the Plethora does, and it's great, but for some reason, I keep going back to having a standalone tuner pedal for whatever reason. Do you have that as well?
So the reason I wasn't using this for a tuner is because I was using it in snapshot mode, and that gave me access to the 3 snapshots. It's also got a input for a foot switch, which gives you another 2 buttons, but I was using that for preset up and down. So that completely...
so you didn't have quick access to the tuner.
So I didn't have access to it. So if I was playing live, I'd have to bend down and go into the menu or press this. And this just made it so much easier. So originally I was using this on my live board.
Yeah, it's weird with me, but I have the Plethora tuner and I just don't use it, and I've got my TC Polytune on the board as well, and it's like you could make an extra space, but for some reason I can't move away from having a dedicated tuner pedal. It's a psychological thing.
100%, yeah.
And it's also a quick mute if you're somewhere and you need to shut up.
Definitely, yeah, it's perfect for that kind of thing. So as I mentioned earlier, the last two for the last 2 outputs are the Helix and the Tonex, and I suppose also the output to the amp as well. So I think now all that's left to do is unbox the pedal boards and start placing things and seeing what we've got space for.
Let's do it. So this is the bag. It comes with a nice strap as well, so you can hold it over your shoulder. And inside, you're going to find your Velcro loop here.
Very useful.
So if you don't already have Velcro on your pedals, you can stick that to the underside of your pedals.
With an Allen key in there as well.
With an Allen key as well, because what you might want to do is shift the position of the bars around. And we'll get into that bit once we take it out of the bag, but here it is. What I really like about the Pedalbays is that they come pre-Velcroed themselves. Not every maker does that. I just think it's a nice thing, saves you a bit of time. I know I'm very lazy myself, and I really appreciate that. And on the underside here, you can see these little metal, whatever you would call them, loopy bits. And what you can then do is place your power supply under here, and there's 2 sort of thick, strong, elastic straps in there, and you can attach it that way if you want to have the power supply under the board. But yeah, you can see here, you can use the Allen key to move the bars in and out.
That's very cool.
If you've got the standard 60 as opposed to the 60L, if you wanted to remove one of these, that's how you would do it. Use the Allen key, take it out, put the power bar in, and you're good to go.
Because something I've run into with other brands is that when you're using mini pedals, you might end up with the pedal kind of here. Yeah. So when you go to press the button, it sort of falls through.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like with this one, particularly with the L, because you've got that extra bar, you can really get 2 of the bars closer together and then have a row dedicated to mini pedals, for example, and it fits perfectly. Yeah.
That's a really good idea. And there's no drilling needed or anything like that to mount the power supply?
No. Absolutely not. Just thinking about it, we probably are going to have to use the Allen key to just widen this gap a little bit. It might not quite fit in there, but we'll see. We'll work that out when we come to it. The other thing to mention is that you've got these adjustable feet here, depending on what angle you want the board, which could be useful for some people. Might not be, but yeah. So that's what we're working with.
Would you suggest starting with mounting the power supply or pedals on then power supply?
It would depend how you want to do it. Like the way I generally build a board is first I'll start off by finding the position of the pedals that I want, kind of knowing how I want to wire it up. And I would generally then also get patch cables and stuff in first, get the pedals down, and then I would do the power supply.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Should we check to see if any of them need to be moved?
Yeah.
First.
So this is the PWT12 IEC. Comes in a nice box, which comes in a nice other box.
It's got the whole Apple unboxing feel to it, hasn't it?
I feel that our design team were inspired by something like Apple. Yeah, it's all very clean, very sort of minimalist aesthetic. Looks really classy, in my opinion. Inside this box here, you're going to find the power supply itself, and you can see this is a nice, chunky sort of affair, solid metal chassis. And if you're going to be mounting it to something else, you can via the holes here, so that makes that easy. On this side, you can see you've got your 12 jacks for the power. 2 of them are also variable voltage. So if you've got pedals that are between 6 and 18 volts, you can twist that round and do that.
Oh, that's cool.
Or if you want to do that kind of weird dying fuzz thing, you can try that. You can starve the voltage to a fuzz pedal and get that spitty sound going on. But yeah, if you just take a little look at the numbers that are written beneath, you'll see how much power is dedicated to each one of the 12 slots. And there on the back, you've got your chunky on-off switch, your AC input, 2 USBs there, USB-A is that called, and USB-C, and then a DC output there as well. That's non-isolated, the other 12 there are isolated, but for example, if you were going to be running a quad Cortex or something just off this, you'd stick it into there and you'd be good. I know many people who do that. Yeah, that's actually going to be interesting since we've got other pedals, but just putting that in there, we have a problem. We would have a problem there and there as well. So what we're going to need to do is move at least one of these bars to give us the space to do that.
So what we'll do is we'll decide that it will go on the top because it's easier to get to the IEC.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense to be on the top, yeah. In theory, this should be a very simple job, but if you're ham-fisted like I am, it might not be quite so simple. Is that going to fit, or are we going to need to go down even further?
Slightly more?
We're going to need to go down.
That's it.
Yeah, there we go. And that's a nice snug fit, actually. Yeah. So you just want to loosely screw that side back in. What we should then do is turn it over and see if this is going to suit or if you want to fiddle with any of the others. Oh, this is very nice and smooth. There you go, eh? Beautiful.
It was good.
German engineering. Are you all the way in?
I'm not. I'm just slightly.
Yeah, you can tighten it up now. I've just tightened my side, yeah. Yeah, that's a nice snug fit. And inside the bag with the Velcro there, you've got the 2 strong elastic bands that you can use, or if you felt you wanted to use cable ties or something like that to be even more secure, you could do that. But yeah, you go like that, and then you're good. Yeah.
Cool. So for now, we'll leave it out.
Yeah. So let's flip it over and see what we're working with here. Yeah, look, now we've got 2 pretty close together, but to be honest, I think that they are going to be fairly decent when it comes to placements.
I think the table's not very flat, is it?
Well, you can also see that it is a bit wobbly. I hear Valeria on the site somewhere. What you can also do with these is lower or raise them, and I can see that this one is a bit higher than that one, and that's why it's rocking around a bit. But yeah, so that's the board, and what I would generally do now is like start placing stuff on it, thinking about where I want it, and go from there. I think you're probably already going to have a sort of preconceived notion about maybe 80% of the stuff, aren't you?
I definitely know, I need the switcher here, and I need the MIDI switcher here, and then everything else is just, wherever kind of fits best, really.
Yeah, okay. Let's do that then.
Cool.
Let's grab some pedals. Why is it so cold?
I've never been cold in Germany before. This is my first time.
It's unpleasant. I've got my hoodie over there, but I feel like for the sake of continuity, I don't want to put it on.
Just go and put it on.
Okay.
Okay, so we know for sure that these 2 are going to be at the bottom, so it makes sense to sort of put them over as far as they'll go.
How's that working? Are you going to be happy with it being kind of overhanging like that?
I am, because it gives it space for the cables to slide through under there. And
yeah, I think when you push it down hard, it's not going to be too much of an issue when you press these ones.
And also, I'm not using it live as well. It's just in my YouTube studio.
Yeah, good point. I was just, as soon as you put it down, I was thinking, if that's going to be a live thing and you're really going to be stomping on it on this side, maybe that's going to be an issue. But Yeah, once we
For
cross
live,
the
I would
Ultra,
probably move
yeah.
this down one.
You'd need to make it a bit more secure. But yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. And then if you wanted this on this row, then that would be it, wouldn't it?
That's perfect, yeah. Because there's no outputs on the side or anything, it's all on the back.
Yeah. So we can get it nice and tight. And here we've got plenty of space for cables coming down under here for your cable management later. But of course, what you could do if you wanted to is move this bar up one bit to give yourself a bit more room. But you're probably not going to need it. Right, well, if it was a traditional pedal board, most of my boards have 2 rows. And when I'm doing drives, I'm generally going from low through to high. And I'll start with a tuner and have my lowest gain drives here and gradually get more up to here. And then I'll have my effects loop row on here, which I would start with, like, you know, chorus, flange, that kind of effect, and then go into delay and finally reverb. That's the way I would do it, but seeing as you've got a loop switcher, it's a little bit different.
Well, the only other pedal that I need to actually press the buttons on is this.
Yeah, that's the thing. The other thing would be, are there any others that you press? And then what I would suggest is you find a position for that which is going to be comfortable to press. I wouldn't put it right here, for example, because it's going to be right next to that. Maybe give yourself a bit more room. It's up to you.
Yeah. And then the only other 2 sort of either or pedals are, we decided against this one, didn't we? So it's this one and this one.
Yeah.
So these 2 need to be sort of easier. Everything else is just left always on.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So because we've got this bit of space here, maybe it makes sense to have this over this side.
Yeah, okay. Are you making use of the MIDI on this one?
No.
No? Okay, just thinking about where we've got our...
No, so all we need on
Jacks,
this
everything
pedal
on the
is
top.
the in and the out, the 2 that are not plugged up.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, let's put this one over here on the left, nice and loosely, so we can easily move it if we need to.
So this is one of those mini pedals, but because it sits over the 2 pedals, it'll be okay.
You want it there?
It's when they're over that pedal, that sort of one single bar, there's this,
Yeah,
they become a bit of an issue.
Yeah. I was going to say, like in
it's always on. So I don't need to, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. With my tuner, which is not always on, I would probably, in this case, stick it up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, for you, if it's always there, then just have it there.
So these need to be accessed. The ones that don't, this one?
Again, yeah, here I'd always be thinking, like, do I want to run the SD1 into the bad horse or the other way around? Because I'd place then...
It will always be this into the bad horse.
But it doesn't matter because it's just a looper. And
but even visually, sort of seeing it in that kind of order always kind of helps. So maybe that makes sense to have the bad horse next.
Can you change the order around with the looper?
No,
or is
the MIDI one, he's got a programmable one that you can do that. But I didn't need that for what I'm using.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Using it for. Next, maybe the chorus?
Okay.
And these 2 are always on. I mean, these 2 are switchable, so this is always on. This is always on. You were right. I've got a lot more space than I was expecting.
Yeah, there you go. There's room for more, always.
I think this is perfect, having it this width, because then I can have these 2 next to each other.
Yeah.
And these are the 2 that are constantly going to be being used.
Yeah.
So in terms of outputs, I need one output from here, one output from here, and one output from here. So it probably makes sense to have that.
Yeah.
Kind of up
have them more kind of manageable in that sense. Yeah.
Accessible up there. So we may as well use the Tube Screamer as well, because...
Where would you put it, though?
In the same loop as the SD1.
Yeah, you could do.
Because I'm not going to stack them together. Again, it's going to be in a one or the other on.
And then you've got 2 flavours of Tube Screamer, effectively. Yeah, why not? Why not do that?
Probably quite important to have a Tube Screamer pedal when you're doing gear demos, because it's a industry standard type thing. So it makes sense to keep that on. Maybe we'll move that.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's not necessary in this case, I kind of like, for my OCD, having kind of
modulation,
the modulation and the
time-based
up here and the drives down here. It just works.
And actually, why not put this in the loop with the bad horse?
Yeah, and you've got 2 flavours of each there. Yeah.
Would you use those 2 combined?
You could absolutely do that. Yeah.
Which one would you have first?
How do you tend to run your Klondike pedals? As a boost or more gainy?
More gainy because I use these two as the boost.
Yeah, okay. And with the ODR1
Again,
style pedal,
more
again,
gainy,
more gainy.
yeah.
For me personally, I would probably run the clon type into the ODR1. That's just a personal taste thing.
That's
though.
how I would have done it, yeah. But I'm glad you agree.
There are no hard or fast rules, you know, and every other guitar player is going to be different, you know.
So next, what would you suggest? We start wiring it up, the audio side of it or the power?
I would personally start by working out, my signal chain generally, but of course we know that we're going to be running each pedal in and out of a loop there. And then, I would, are these pedals positioned optimally for you? How you want them on the board?
Yeah.
Well, let me just activate my OCD a little bit more and make them totally straight then, because I can't be dealing with a pedal which is not totally straight. Are you going in stereo with any of these, by the way? No? Okay.
The TC2290 is in stereo.
Yeah, okay.
But that's run into the effects loop of the Red 7 load box that I've got.
Yeah, okay. These are also not entirely straight. It bothers me. It bothers me, Jake.
You need to look from above. It's really... Okay, so next we'll move on to the patch cables, the audio signal.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
We've got a selection of the vintage kind and the more traditional kind.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I don't think the black ones have a name, but the other ones are vintage. The other ones, are they modern? I don't know what they are. They're standard patch cables, effectively, yeah. Right, so I found some loose 15 centimeter ones, and here's a small bag of 10 centimeter ones, so we can use, I guess the 10s are best, right? Are these going to be low profile enough? Yeah, it's going to be tight, this.
Should we put a couple in to see?
Like on the diagonal here, it's not going to be a problem, but like you're going to have stuff poking out over the edge, I think. Well, it just about fits. It's not going to be the most beautiful thing ever, but it just about fits.
Because there shouldn't be a return coming from this or this.
No, it's like, where are those two extra cables coming from?
How is that possible?
Well, let's see. Where's this? But do you not? No, I was thinking. Do you not go from the tuner into?
I'm so confused. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Well, we've got everything on the board. All these cables are in the right places. So what we might just need to do is pull all of these out and individually put them back in. It's part of the pedalboard building fun, isn't it? Yeah, we're going to have to pull all these out.
Oh, I see what we've done. These four need to be in the same loop.
They need to be in the same loop. Yeah.
But still, why have we got ins and outs here? So this is it with the audio connections all wired up. Now we're going to move on to the power side of things.
Some of these are going to be a little bit shorter than others, so just let's take care that we put the shorter ones into the drives, which are down here. Okay? Yeah. Right, now what we can probably do is pull this out again. It's just important to make sure that you don't get it kind of in a position where you can't do anything with it while you're doing that. So hundreds, so these are for the drives and that, and these ones are the more powerful ones, yeah.
The one on the back was the...
That's the 2 amp non-isolated DC out.
Right.
But as far as I understand it, this whole power supply is 2 amps out. So like, it's not like you have 2 amps on this side and 2 on that side.
So this is the almost complete board. There's a few little tweaks I've got to make to it when I get it back to my studio back in London. But we definitely haven't just lost the will to live. Definitely didn't wire the whole thing and then have to rip out every single cable again and have to redo it. That didn't happen.
I mean, if it's not in the video, it didn't happen.
That's it. You didn't see anything. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. I think that I did mention earlier on that there were 2 sections for, or 3 sections, in fact, for overdrives. I had the overdrive section and 2 gain sections, but that's not the case, obviously, because I've got it written here. I don't know how I managed to mess that up. So these 4 drives are all in the same loop. Because they're all they're not like distortion pedals like these 2. They're all similar kind of, with their own kind of flavors in terms of overdrive. So we've got the SD1 style, Tube Screamer style, Clon style, and ODR1 style. So something for everyone. The ideal kind of thing for demos, I'd say.
Yeah, different flavors. It's 3 distinct different flavors, and I've never really been the world's hugest tube screamer person, although I do use a tube screamer often. Is the SD1 like a version of a tube screamer, just with a slightly different clipping style, like hard clipping as opposed to soft or something? Or
less of a mid push as well.
Okay, because I know that all the great hard rock and metal players love to use an SD1 to boost their
their
Zach
Wild
and so on.
type thing.
Yeah,
it works really well for that, or even lower gain kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but I really like this, and there's definitely situations where the tube screamer works, and it's really for what I do, it's amp dependent as well. So for me, I think Marshalls take the overdrive really well, but something like a 5150, maybe the tube screamer is the better option.
Okay.
So you just match the right overdrive to the amp.
Yeah, but in this loop, like you say, you've got a few different flavors that you'll use for kind of more boosts than drives, so it's going to work for any setup.
Yeah. And the option's still there if I do want to stack a couple of them, because I'll just turn them on.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, this is probably the last that you'll see of Rich in this video. Thank you so much for all your help. I have to admit, I may have gone slightly more crazy than I did if you weren't there to help. So I do appreciate that. Next thing you'll see is probably me in my studio running through some sounds and talking you through the board again. So see you soon. So the first change that I made since making the video with Rich is that I thought, why not split the signal that's going to the amp into with a DI box, and then have a dry DI going to the interface and then one going to the amp. So then that gives me a possibility of 4 different signals. It gives me the amp, it gives me a DI, it gives me the Tonex, and it gives me the HX Stomp. And that works really well. There was no problems with that, and I think that was a pretty good idea, so I'm happy with that. The big problem that I did encounter was, for some reason, I completely overlooked this aspect, and that was ground loops. With everything connected to the interface, I was just getting all kinds of buzzing, and that was because I needed some kind of isolation, like a loop isolation kind of thing. Like, I'm a guitar player. I'm not claiming I'm a clever person, so I've kind of worked out what I need to do to make that work. And with the bright onion pedal, you do have the option, I think, of having some isolated, or if not, he's a genius builder, and I'm sure he'll like make a few little changes if you wanted to have some kind of like isolated direct outs, because he does make direct isolated transformer, you know, the stuff this stuff. This is the kind of thing that you need. So what I might do is get a isolated AB box before the loop switcher, and then that way I can go direct to the Tonex, or I can press the AB button and go to the amp, or also at the same time while recording a DI. Also, since then, I've decided that I think captures are the way forward, at least for me. It's taken me a long time to accept that captures, the feel of them, everything about them is, in my opinion, superior to modelling in this context. For me, I think I'm going to be using the HX Stomp just for live. I like to use it as a preamp going into the power amp of amps, so that works really well for that. It's perfect for that. But since I've used modelling since like the Line 6 Pod 2.0 came out, I was very fixed on modelling, and I wasn't as accepting of captures, or maybe I didn't quite understand the point when you've got modelling. But now that I've played through a lot of really good captures, I can see that in this situation, in this scenario, the captures is the way forwards. And if I'm demoing gear for you to watch, then I can just say that these are the captures that I'm using. So in theory, if I'm going direct, you should get exactly the same sound, near enough. Obviously, sounds in the fingers and that kind of thing, but rig-wise, if I'm reviewing a guitar and you like the sound of it, you know that you can get the same capture and get pretty much that sound close enough. So for me, Tonex is the way forward in this studio, and I'm going to be using the Line 6 Helix just for live. So that's going to come off the pedal boards. So the other thing you might have noticed that's changed is the really cool green TODP has now left the boards, and I've got the black one, which is the new up-to-date one with the modular boards with the different like preamp tubes and diodes and that kind of stuff. So it's a totally modular pedal, so you can build it to be exactly what you want it to be. As cool as the green one did look, this one is updated for a reason. It is technically a better pedal, so I'm going to be using that for my demos and as my distortion pedal. The other thing that's changed is I've gone for this MIDI move, so I do need to move things about slightly on the pedal board, because I just
I think that these air step multi-controllers are very good. I've had a few issues with this one though, that now for some reason the Bluetooth isn't connecting, and actually the compatibility with the Tonex pedal was more complicated than it needs to be. But I do have the AirStep TX on its way so that I can still control the Tonex and access all 20 slots, which will be really useful. I'm probably not going to need any more than 20 sounds for gear demonstrations and that kind of thing. So when that is all up and running, I'll have a link to what captures I'm using on the Tonex. So I'm hoping that I do have enough space on this pedal board once I move things around, because I need to keep this. I want to find a space for this because I do like using the MIDI mouse, but maybe I'll need to go for like the MIDI Mongoose or something else that's a bit smaller. The Stomp will be going, so that'll give me a bit more space for the new controller for the Tonex. Other than that, not a huge amount is going to change on this pedal board, other than sort of reconfiguring where the controllers are going to go and making a bit of space. And I've got a load of these summer cables, a whole box full of these, because these are really high quality cables that I like a lot. And I'm going to build a snake with these cables. At the moment, I've just got individual, a mix of all different kind of stuff, just cable tied together. So Summer Cable sent me some the stuff that you put the cables in to make the snake, which is called the elastic stuff. Tubing seems to be the right word. So that's going to keep things nice and neat and convenient and tidy. So that's going to be good. So maybe I'll do a little short or some kind of video showing. I know Perfecto did. He did a pedal snake build video. So I do like to rip him off. So maybe I'll do that. Oh yeah, I also made another change. So because I'm not using these for the outputs to the Stomp or the Tonex anymore, it freed up a couple of loops. So now I've got the Keeley Caverns, which is this cool looking version, which I really like. So I'll play you some sounds with that as well. So I'm using that for like a big shimmery kind of over the top, just like ambient sort of soundscapey type thing. It's just not really the kind of thing I do, but it's nice to have it there. But I really, really like that pedal, and that's the special edition one from Badlands Guitars. So this is the guitar straight into the amp, channel 1, clean channel of the BH4 with the loop completely bypassed, nothing engaged, so it sounds like this. So then I can add some Keeley Caverns. Very cool. And then add some, so I've got it labelled as light on the looper, which is this Nobleman, which is like my light drive. So Nobleman is a clone of a Noble Zodiac 1 from Tone City. Chuck on a Cheap Screamer. So then I'll try, this is the gain pedal on the clean sound, so I can decide whether I want the TODP or the Perfecto pedal. So at the moment, I've got it set to the TODP, which is set for like a really kind of just like a nasty, broken, maybe like a rap sort of sound, I don't know. But it sounds like this anyway. And if I want to switch that over, I can try the Perfecto pedal instead. we go back to CODP, and I can layer an overdrive pedal in front of that. Change the tube screamer to the SD1. Then I can add some delay, which is the MXR carbon copy. And then some reverb from the Hall of Fame and chorus. And I can mute the whole thing with the tuner switch. Do some tuning, which I should probably do. Then I've got channel 2 of the diesel, which I set up for like maybe like a JCM 800 kind of pushed crunchy sound. And then with that kind of sound on channel 2, the 800 sort of thing, I like to push the front end with an SD1. I prefer the SD1 over the tube screamer. I know maybe a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I just prefer it a little bit. Just it's close, but yeah. Anyway, it sounds like this. And leading on from that is the channel 3, which is my favourite channel of the... you know what, it is my favourite, but channel 2 is it's grown on me a lot in the last sort of year or so. But yeah, channel 3, which again, I do like to push the front end, which sounds like this. And then without the SD1, I've also got a delay in the parallel loop of the amp, so I can control that. So then that gives me the option of having a delay in the loop of the amp after the amp's preamp, or I've got the delay on the board. So if I want a delay in front of the amp, which I don't normally do, but if I'm doing if I'm reviewing or demoing an overdrive or distortion pedal, then I can have the carbon copy after it and then into the clean channel of the amp. So this is what the loop sounds like. And I really like having the parallel loop on the amp, because that way I don't have to have everything going through that delay pedal. I can just blend it in and it doesn't affect the sound at all. So I've got channel 4 set up as a lead solo type sound. I've got a delay in the loop, and at some point I'll throw in the chorus in front of the amp as well, so you can hear what that sounds like. So as I mentioned before, at the same time as all of this is being recorded, I'm also recording the DI as well, so I can run it through any plugins or software if I want to compare some sort of plugins to the real amp or that kind of thing. So that leaves the alternative signal path, which is through the Tonex. Oh, also, I'm only able to access 2 sounds at the moment with the Tonex because I'm still waiting for the AirStep TX. But at the moment, I've got sound, the one channel set up as a Rockman. It's a capture of a Rockman, so that kind of Def Leppard hysteria sort of sound, clean sound. And the other channel, I'm using one of, I'm going to say his name wrong, I know, but it's El Gavalaverta. Really good YouTube channel. I'll be using his capture of his JCM 800 Bad Boy amp, which is, I just love this capture so much. I tweaked it a little bit, I've added some chorus, and because, you know, it's me. But as a dry sort of amp sound, I just think he's managed to capture some really good sounds. So this is the Rockman. I think it sounds pretty good. Very convincing Rockman type sound. The other sound. And then the other 18 banks of the Tonex are all kinds of high gain amps, mid gain amps, low gain amps, pedal platform amps, which I bought a pack from Michael Nielsen, which is like a pedal platform package where you can just run other like distortion pedals and that kind of thing into it, and it reacts like a real amp, which I think is going to be really useful going forward for demos and reviews of higher gain, because obviously that's an expensive amp and not everybody's got an expensive amp. But the Tonex, I think they're about $150, £150 maybe, something like that, the Tonex one. So if you buy that and the pack from Michael Nielsen, then you should be able to get pretty much exactly the same sound. Again, sounds in these apparently. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's been a really long video, and it's been a while since anything's been uploaded, but that's about to change because I may just have about 25 products sitting above my head right now. There's a queue. If you're a company and you want to jump that queue, that's completely fine. I'm happy to do that. It's £1 million, but you can jump that queue. So there'll be a load of stuff going up soon, and so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.